A very good evening to you. We speak tonight with the acting spokesperson of the Citizen Coalition for Change, His Worship the Mayor of Harare, Mr. Jacob Mfume. Mr. Mfume, greetings. How are you, sir?
Good evening. Hi, how are you?
Yes. We understand we are now the acting spokesperson, and when did you assume being the spokesperson of this party?
We had a meeting of the National Standing Committee, and we in that meeting we said we are reverting to the structures of 2019. As you will recall, going into 2019, I was the spokesperson of the party, which was MDC Alliance, and I simply shifted to being Secretary for Elections and Secretary for Local Government. But I've always been speaking for the party from time to time during the run-up to the elections, on TV, on radio, and so forth. It is a role that I have carried with me to the number of posts that I have held in the party. But for the purposes of what we had to do today, I am the acting spokesperson to speak to the announcement that had to be made.
This standing committee of CCC, when was it chosen? Who voted for them, or you are using the 2019 structures?
We voted in 2019. As you know, the Congress was supposed to then happen this year, anytime between July and September, latest. So they carried the legitimacy of the people, the vote of the people, until removed through a Congress or any other legal process.
Basically, a Citizen Coalition will just change the name from MDC Alliance.
Remember,
that's what you are saying?
It was a branding exercise.
Or it was a branding exercise?
We needed to participate in the by-elections. We couldn't participate in the by-elections as MDC Alliance, as that name was being claimed by Mwanzora and company, and we could have been barred by the courts, or our members could easily have been recalled should they have been elected under that name. And so to avoid such an eventuality and to defend the people's vote, we decided to brand.
So everyone in that party knew that we are changing from MDC.
Council meeting that made that decision. It is public knowledge. Everyone in the party knew. That is why people kept their positions from the president downwards. No one shifted, no one moved, except for changes that were being done by the president in line with the constitutional mandate that he carried.
We saw a lot of drama last year after the elections when the one interim Secretary General, Sengezo Chabangu, started to make some recalls. Did the leadership of CCC, in brackets MDC Alliance, knew about those recalls?
Well, to the extent that they were planned, they didn't know, to my knowledge. They encountered them as they were happening.
How did you feel about them?
A recall is never a good thing. A recall is bad. We must build institutions that have other alternatives to deal with any issues that might arise internally. Because the recall then affects innocent third parties and has unintended consequences when it does happen. And should it happen, it must be through certain due processes, and when it is completely and purely unavailable.
So did you try to speak to him, or did he consult any of you leaders, especially the standing committee or anybody else, when he did those recalls?
Not to my knowledge. If they were, then I have not been made privy to those consultations. But what we have done is that the standing committee has mandated the acting president to engage all stakeholders, including Chabangu, to come to an understanding and to solve the problem of the recall and the exercise of any powers that are being exercised by the various stakeholders of the party and the democratic movement.
So you have spoken, you are now in the same box with Sengezo Chabangu?
the acting president has been mandated to do so. He has only been there for a few hours.
Okay.
So I'm sure by now they've not yet spoken, and that should they speak, they will decide which platform and how they are going to speak and announce it.
Yeah, that's why I came to you, because I saw your press statement announcing that Mr. Welshman Ncube is now the acting president of the CCC.
Yes.
Tell me why, how it happened.
He was the vice president of the party. He's the most senior of the vice president. They will do so on a rotational basis and a 90 days apiece. Mm-hmm. And that rotational basis, it is what happens when a president leaves an organization. The vice presidents act until such a time when a confirmation can be made of what then happens at the end of the process. And we want the structures of 2019 to resuscitate themselves from the branch to the provinces, districts, and national, so that the party can be consulted and can be informed about what has happened to it. A party is a serious thing. It has parliamentarians, it has councillors and councils to run. It cannot just disappear into thin air just like that. People make decisions, life-changing decisions, and expectations when they are electing representatives. You cannot then wish it away as it never existed. It's not possible, it's not prudent, and it can't happen like that.
So the National Standing Committee so agreed that these three vice presidents will act one at a time. For how long? Welshman will be active for how long?
90 days.
3 months.
Yes.
And then comes after Welshman? Tendai BT?
Yes.
For 3 months as well?
Yes.
Then comes Maikore?
Yes.
He will act for 3 months as well?
Yes.
That's 9 months?
Yes. Meaning
that you are ruling out the Congress this year?
No, we're not ruling it out. The one who then superintends the acting will then carry the party into the Congress. So,
I mean, is it possible to do a Congress this year?
It is.
So I'm looking at 9 months from now. How many would that be? November?
No. You are reading the timelines literally.
Okay. So I'm talking that when you go to Congress, definitely have a new president.
Yes.
So meaning the ones you are saying that they will act, they won't act if you're supposed to do it in August or July?
It then expires by operation of the Constitution. Okay. The 90 days is not a constitutional provision. It's an administrative provision to make sure that there is a bit of order and certainty within the acting of the presidents. Okay.
So you had a constitution?
We have a constitution, MDC Alliance Constitution.
So okay, when those people went to court, your party, CCC, went to court last time about Chabang, why was it not used in the constitution? Because the judge said there was no constitution.
Well, it is up to the people who were then instructing the lawyers as to answer why they did not use the constitution in that particular case. I'm not privy to the reasons why they did or whether they should have. But it is there. When people go to court, they adopt different strategies and they get advice from different lawyers. Maybe that was the advice they got. The wisdom or lack thereof is then shown with what then happens in that particular court.
Mm-hmm. So definitely it's a must that there is a Congress this year, because the mandate of those who were elected in Koba 5 years ago, their term is it will be expiring.
Democracy has to be practiced. Mm-hmm. We are part of the democratic movement, and what would differentiate us from what we are fighting is an adherence to democratic tenets, presenting yourself to the will of the people on a regular basis. Otherwise, we will be then advocating for other things other than democracy. We believe and sincerely believe that we are a democratic movement, and we are going to be able to achieve a better lives for Zimbabweans through democratic processes.
Mm. What happens to these members of parliament who are saying they will follow your president who has resigned as a leader? What will happen to them?
Freedom of association. they can follow a resignation. If one is clear in their conscience, they believe that it is the right thing to do, no one can stand in their way. But we believe that we were elected for a reason, we participate in political parties for a reason, and that we believe that at this juncture it does not serve the nation, serve the movement to abandon a post without a clear explanation, without a meeting, without minutes, without a debate as to why this is happening. This is different from the stories of the Bible, where you get touched on the head and you are asked to stand up and follow. This is a democratic movement. People come and explain, people weigh the pros and cons and make a collective decision. Until such a process has happened, which it has not, then there is each to his conscience and each to his ways. But I do believe that we owe a collective duty as leaders to Zimbabweans to have a rational premise as to why we are acting, to defend the gains that we have obtained in the spaces that we occupy, and try to get more in the next cycle of the elections.
You tell me this party MTC Alliance still exists under the banner of CCC, but when Chabangu did what he did, surely you should have convened a meeting as the leadership of the party and started talking to him. You are saying the new president will start engaging him. Does this guy have the powers more than the party itself? Chabangu?
The then president had his way of doing things, which he was supposed to account, which he was supposed to explain.
Who was it by then? Who was the president when Nelson Chamisa resigned? Who acted on that? Won't that person try to convene a meeting of your standing committee or other leaders and question why he did what he did? This guy will face any consequences of doing what he did without consulting you as the leadership of CCC.
Well, the then president, as you know, surprised everyone by writing a letter or an epistle, as it were. And it was quite a long epistle. A few people had been consulted, and people had to read and understand why he did that. And in that interim, there was no recognizable leadership, so to speak, in the sense that people had to regroup. Meetings had not been held for quite some time. There were various opinions, others insisting there were no office bearers, others insisting that there were still office bearers, and so forth. And in that confusion, consultations had to be done, positions had to be made, and we are here where we say we are restoring the leadership of 2019, not only at standing committee level, right from the branch up to the national level.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand, because when he recalled most of your MPs and all that, I'm trying to get it. Did any one of you reach out to him to say, what are you doing?
There were attempts and negotiations, abortive attempts, legal actions, a plethora of actions were taken, individually, collectively, as a leadership, and that probably had varying degrees of success. Maybe the reason why others were not recalled was as part of those negotiations, why there was a moratorium, why there was a limited number, and so forth and so forth. So there was attempts that were made, so to speak. They had varying degrees of success, but there is need for a collective response from the constitutionally mandated organs of the party.
Yeah, the problem why I'm saying so is that we're just seeing one person, Sengezo Chabangu, doing all the donkey work. We didn't know that he had people who backed him. It only resurfaced or surfaced when Chamisa had left the party. So during when the time was there, when he was arguing, hey, you can't do all these recalls, we never saw statements from your fellow leadership.
There was the leadership then that was making statements. It was centralized in the president's office,
okay.
And anyone who attempted to speak was questioned as to what position they were speaking from, and why they were speaking. There were people who were responding in various platforms, in the courts, in the press, Twitter and social media, and those were the people who at that point were being appointed or given the mandate to respond by the then president himself. But now that he has resigned, it does not make sense for people to keep quiet, because at that time they were not responding. It does not make sense for people to look leaderless. That we are in charge of cities, we are in charge of constituencies, we are in charge of wards. It is not rocket science to manage a political party. What if your political leader has an accident? What if your political leader is not there for one reason or the other? Not being there is a natural consequence of politics and life. It is not rocket science to be heading a political party. If the leader is not there, you look at how you sequentially deal with his absence. He's not the first leader to resign. He's not the first leader to leave the party. It happens. It has happened. We then handle it.
No, what brought a lot of confusion, Your Worship, is that Mr. Beatty denied knowledge of what was happening, denied knowledge of knowing Sengezo Chabang. So was Welshman Ncube. Was this, I don't understand, why did they deny knowing, having the knowledge or knowing the guy himself? The two leaders who are the vice president of the party. They said they know nothing about him.
Well, it is up to them to answer for themselves. What is clear is that what has happened, happened. Whether they were knowledge, it's not to my knowledge. I doubt very much. I go by their public statements, unless otherwise proven. And if they are proven otherwise, I think it is up to them to be able to answer. But what is clear is that at this juncture we are where we are, and we need to move as a political party, and an announcement has been made, and that announcement allows the acting president to have the legitimate authority to put the pieces back together and deal with the issue of Chabangu, parliament, councils, and many other moving parts of the party, and then to be able to have an internal mechanism to deal with conflicts and allow the movement to grow.
Okay, so definitely now Professor Welshman is now the acting president.
Knows Charlton Wende, everyone knows late Konye.
So what was, if I may ask, sorry to stop you there, what was Wende in your? Yes, sorry about that. We're about to wrap it. I said, what was Wende in 2019 Congress?
Secretary General.
So how did the Chabangu assume that interim SG?
Those are the things that the acting president will deal with. The discussions and how the scrambled egg or the entanglement will be dealt with. Okay. I believe that there is nothing that cannot be solved in the political context. So we are very confident that we will be able to solve it, and we will be able to protect the vote of the people and protect the integrity of the party going forward.
Yeah, and finally, now I want to just ask one or two questions about you. You were recalled. Why were you recalled? Do you know?
It is.
It's not. Was it Chabang as well?
No, it wasn't Chabang. And ironically, I was recalled by Prof Welshman Ncube, saying he was acting on the instruction of the then President Nelson Chamisa. I have no idea why Prof Welshman Ncube wrote that letter. I tried to inquire to his credit or in his defense. The President Nelson Chamisa said he did not give that instruction to Prof Welshman Ncube. I have no idea why.
So he didn't even go to court?
He didn't even go to court. He just wrote a letter to the ministry, which letter was not acted upon right. Because there has been an interdict against the recalls. And ironically, they tried to recall 5 mayors, yet they were blaming Chabang for recalling people, but they want to use the same method to deal with a mayor like me and 5 other mayors, Vic Falls, Mutare, Mashingo, and so forth, Blawayo, right across the country. It's hypocritical, oxymoronic, and it creates a serious problem in terms of the sincerity of our colleagues or the way we are conducting business.
Dr. Chabsa, it is rumored that is forming a new party. Have you spoken to him? Do you hear of such thing?
No, we go by what he said in his letter.
Okay.
He said that he's taking a break and he's going to come up with a new direction in his life. We were not called to a meeting of the leadership to get an explanation from him, as is the norm in any democratic institution. What we are aware of is that he said that the party has been infiltrated, and that as the head priest, he was going to run away from the demons that had infected the shrine. And when the prayers of the head priest can no longer cleanse the shrine, it becomes a sense of worry. But we are where we are, where the head priest has left the shrine because he claimed there's a claim that they are demons, they are infiltrated. But that's what politics is about. ZANU-PF infiltrates, you infiltrate back, and you should be able to fight against it. And we cannot follow.
It happens all over the world.
It happens all over the world. And we also need to have an eye-to-eye, man-to-man, an eyeball meeting with our president to understand exactly what is his thought process. Did he write that letter in his own hand? Was he blackmailed? Is he being extorted? What is exactly is happening? This is Africa. You cannot go by somebody not being able to have an interaction with people. We have lawyers in CCC, we have doctors in CCC. We need to have a face-to-face interaction with the person, and there are many reasons why letters of that nature can be written. You need to be sure that was it written in his own hand. What are the things that are pressing in the mind of the person? And you can only do that if you are able to have an interactive meeting at an appropriate level with the leader of the movement. This is unprecedented and very difficult to be able to rationalize, no matter how people want to chorus around it, how you want to scream about it, how you want to repeat about it. It's a difficult proposition to be able to move towards. Whatever our then president is going through, it is in our prayers, is in everyone's prayers. We are at a loss as to what's happening, and we do hope that at some point there will be an ability to eyeball one's colleagues and be able to explain and be able to persuade in a rational manner, in a democratic manner, the essence of where we are going, where he is going, and why it needs to be done in the particular manner that he has done. As for now, I think at this point in time, we had office bearers, we are parliamentarians, and you can see in the attempt for some of them, others have resigned, others quickly U-turn and want to take leadership position, albeit illegally in parliament. It is so contradictory, so confusing to the ordinary person, and we owe it. We are officers of the court. We go and represent clients. You know, it's like somebody divorcing a wife and then insisting that the person remarries, but before the person remarries, you come back to give babies, and then saying you are divorcing, and then the persons who are saying they are divorcing, you the moment you are going to sit at the issue of the divorce, you find they are having another baby. we at some point, we carry the hopes of the people, and at some point, we have to operate in a formulaic manner, a democratic manner, consultative manner, a deliberate manner. We must have minutes. An opposition is an institution of record. We must have the numbers of the minutes, a proposition, a counter proposition, a voting and a counter voting. It is the way it should be. It is the way we thought we were going to be holding our processes. However, we are where we are, and we believe that at some point we need to draw a line, be able to stop and say, okay, comrades and fellow Democrats, what are we doing? A burial society has minutes. A women's club in Etamarounds has minutes, procedures, constitutions, and previous decisions. And it can't just change its name while least you are expecting to receive your round of money. Everything has a process and a procedure. And we need to calm down, be able to be deliberate about our processes, and be able to move on in a clear manner. If people are not persuaded by rationality, democratic methods, and so forth and so forth, it is their right. It is their right. But we owe it to the people to be able to give an alternative voice and also be able to carry the democratization of Zimbabwe in a manner that allows us to be able to take over from ZANU-PF and go in a direction that brings prosperity to the nation.
Do you think the opposition in Zimbabwe can remove this kind of opposition in Zimbabwe, where we see people thinking this is a child's play, we hear of fighting? Now already after the new thing, the interim which is there, we're already seeing people like Mhlanga and all those people. Do you think you are the people to bring change to Zimbabwe? Does ZANU-PF have a challenge in this country, or definitely there's no opposition?
The opposition in Zimbabwe is attacked because it is the closest to taking state power from an extra revolutionary movement. In all the countries that he had to take and use arms to win their independence, and that had parties, nationalistic parties that had armed wings. We are the closest to be able to upstage a party. If you look at Frelimo in Mozambique, ANC in South Africa, Chama Pinduzi in Angola, SWAPO in Namibia. Look at the record of their opposition. You'll see that we face so much infiltration, we face so much oppression, we face so much pressure because we are almost there. So we are almost there. We are very.
But whenever, like now, people are resigning. Whenever you do by-elections, ZANU-PF is taking those seats. That's my worry, that the opposition is getting destroyed. ZANU-PF is winning all these by-elections.
By-elections are traditionally difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You must remember, we started participating in by-elections in 2018 to 2023. Before that, we never. The last time we participated in by-election was the Bikita by-election, which was violent under Morgan Tsvangirai, and we stopped participating in by-elections in the sense that they are one, pointless, two, the regime concentrates all its resources on that community, and you end up victimizing the community for no reasonable political gain. We started participating in by-elections because of the peculiar nature of the recalls that had been done by Monzora. They were widespread in that election was a mini general election in itself. But these other by-elections, traditionally, we have elected not to participate in them. So nothing much turns.
So will you participate if instead to feel these ones have just resigned?
That's why I'm saying that nothing much turns on by-elections. What we need to do is to regroup, reorganize, and come up with a political trajectory that will have an impact on the way the country is being governed. These rehearsals and many electoral processes do not benefit anyone that much, and you end up just getting the community being victimized.
Right. Lastly, what do you say to the residents of Harare? As you know that Bulawayo here, there will be cleanup operations. They are removing the vendors in town. Other towns doing the same. Are Harare doing the same, trying to clean the cities?
Yes, we are going to be cleaning the city. We did Operation Chimisa Harare, complementary with the government, and it was a huge success. We are going to continue with those efforts. We are also going to continue with the efforts of cleaning the city, the efforts of trying to find a way where vendors and established shops can coexist. We need to create a paradigm shift and we restore the city to the beauty that it used to be, and to become a center of economic activity that does not destroy the city but enhance the ambience of the city, so that Harare can be a place to live in. And that want to assure that the voters and the residents of Harare that our elected representatives are staying put, and they are going to engage in the serious business of trying to make sure that they defend zones of autonomy, and if they are in parliament, they push aggressively to bring the government to account.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, the Mayor of Harare, Chekumafume. Thank you so much for your time. I know I checked you, it's late in the evening, you should be resting, but thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk to you.
There is no rest in the democratic struggle until we achieve.
Amen.
Thank you for having us here.
Thank you.
Thank you.